on Take It Up with Jessica Lee. I'm talking with WSO2 in the security business of identity and access management. The team with me representing product, sales, and marketing. And I know it's unusual that we have so many people on the call, but given that everybody's very excited to talk about what's going on in the open source security business and during this COVID time, a lot of people are cutting back on, say, marketing spending, but they're definitely not cutting back on security. So welcome to the show, team.
Hi, Jessica. Thanks for having us.
Hi, Jessica.
Hi. I want to start off with, please explain a little bit more about your technology. I know open source is a lot less expensive. So from a cost perspective, it is very appealing for companies, especially those who are looking for a way to increase security, but at a lower cost to do that. So maybe Prabath, maybe start with you, given that you're head of product. Can you share with us the innovation, the value?
WSO2 has been in the open source business since 2005, so it's a long time now. And our main focus area is integration. And then since 2007, we started focusing on IAM domain too. One reason we see people focus more on open source is it's not just because of the price tag, right? So it's mostly because it's flexible and it's open. You know what's happening internally. You have the complete control over what you run. Like if you take even the integration domain, so Kubernetes is one of the most popular platforms. Like everyone is running Kubernetes now. If not, they'll surely in next couple of years. Kubernetes is one of the largest open source projects. And if you take Apache Server, so Apache Server is one of the top web server deployments you see in the world. So it's all open source. So open source is leading the software industry even now. Out of many reasons, as I mentioned, so flexibility, then freedom to use. So those are the key things we see. And especially in the IAM domain, so we see some people still thinking traditionally, even though we see a big trend in integration domain to pick open source over others. In IAM domain, we see a slow progress for open source. That's because some people still think open source is not secure, but then again, if they question themselves, like if you think Kubernetes and Apache is secure for them, so why not IAM products, right?
Good question.
That's traditional thinking, but we see there's a shift in that, and especially with the current setup at global level, we see a lot of people started rethinking about the open source IAM.
Okay, great. So it's flexible and cost effective. Let's hear from sales. Are you seeing an uptake on your technology, or is there really a flattening of investment in open source for you?
That's actually an interesting question. So from a sales standpoint, we're actually seeing absolute uptake. There's actually a peak or rather spike in the number of leads that are heading our way. And from what we are hearing from these leads and the prospects that we're talking to, cost is definitely an area they're focusing on given the current economic downturn. But at the same time, they also see the other values that Prabath mentioned, and apart from that, they also want to get into a product that will also provide them lock-in protection, because that's something that they really value. And that is definitely a huge value of going with WSO2, because it's open source. There's zero lock-in, vendor lock-in on that aspect as well. And with WSO2 and our products, there it also comes the entire concept of community, right? So we have our Slack channels, etc. So there's a lot of community around the product, which is great. And another reason our customers love our products is the fact that when we sign up with a customer and we sign up a customer, it's not just a customer, it's also a partner. In the sense that our customers get a say in the way our product is architected and the entire roadmap. We cannot take all of that into account. And customers love that experience where they have a say in the entire product roadmap, which is something you don't get with other non-open source or other proprietary software out there.
Okay, so you're seeing actually a spike in demand.
Absolutely, yes.
Did you have to make any shift in the sales approach to the way you do business? Because a lot of people have to work from home. we're seeing people who are shifting completely to online, whereas before they used to have a lot of sales discussions in person. So how has this COVID-19 changed your sales approach?
It's absolutely business as usual for WSO2. So as a company, right from our inception, we've had a inbound driven sales model. So we've had zero field presence, field sales folks. So our sales teams are based out of our 7 offices globally, and they work around the clock to handle the customers in the different regions. And 95% or more of our customers today are folks who have come to us. And I think that's also given the open source value. They come to our website and they download the product, they try it out, and when they have questions, they fill a contact form, and our awesome sales team reaches out to them within 1 hour and then, you know, kind of helps them through the entire sales process. So, so for us, absolutely business as usual. We had to make absolutely no change in our sales process. We've always had the culture within WSO2 where we work from home and work remotely. So when this entire COVID-19 quarantines and everything took place, and in some of our offices, like folks based out of R&D hub, which is in Sri Lanka went into entire curfew, right? It's not just a lockdown, we just had to be indoors. So for us, there was zero drop of productivity in supporting our customers and selling to our customers as well.
Wow, that's great for you then. There's no change. Yeah. So you've been able to generate revenue and seeing a spike in that without having any impact to the way you do your sales approach. So I gotta ask now, we know that securities is an area where companies invest, and open source is very appealing from a cost perspective and being flexible. Given that this crisis is maybe bringing a lot more customers to you than usual, how much more are we talking about? Is this like a double in the uptake on your technology?
Yes, in certain regions, yes, we're seeing almost double, and in some regions even more. Wow. Which is great. Yeah, and it's interesting, right? So we hear of countries that are severely affected by entire coronavirus and COVID-19 situation. Yet we still see a lot of leads from those countries that are severely affected, which is I think a testament to the value that open source brings, not just from a pricing standpoint, but from all the other aspects, because a lot of these folks are still actually even considering signing up with us on the long term, which is definitely encouraging, and we hope to see this continuing in the future as well.
Yeah, and to add one more to that, Geethika, so one thing we see in our Slack channel, which is like an open community, it increased from 100 members to 300 members in last 2 months, since March. And wow. So we are not just focusing on price, so we are open to help anyone who's using our product, especially in these times.
Okay. So yeah. I'm going to turn to marketing, because sales is relying on those inbound leads. So a lot of that success really comes from sales ability, marketing's ability to attract people to your site and giving them an easy way to learn and then try out the product. So marketing is your domain, Ishara. So please tell us, how have you been doing the marketing to attract leads for sales?
Okay, so from day one, WSO2 in general always followed an inbound marketing lead, because what we realized is, our user, they're constantly looking for solutions. They might have a certain knowledge of, what they're looking for, but you need to empower them in certain angles just to, give them a taste of what they might need. So for example, what we do is, number one thing for us in marketing is ensuring that we know our user inside out. So you'd have to look at your user personas and your buyer personas. So if you take your user persona, that would be the developer. So I would have to ensure that a developer has everything that they need from a content perspective. If they were to go to a developer forum, that they see us. So we would combine SEO with content, because we know, say, if you were to buy something, your first thing you'd instinctively do is either maybe ask a friend for a recommendation, or you would run a search on Google. And hopefully, if you turn up to be on the top 10 results page, then you know that I, as a marketing person, have done my job. So what we do is, while we get to know our users and while we get to know our buyer personas at the same time, we look for their pain points and we write the type of content that we know we can map out to those people. So when they run a search, okay, they see us, they come to our page, or sometimes it could be a thought leadership content. So that's one. Then we have organic social posts that we make sure that, those content is promoted. A key thing that we've always believed in WSO2 is to building the brand of our own people. So Prabath is one of them as well. There's all of our engineering teams, they all act as evangelists of the product as well. So they would write blogs, they would share their expertise. So sometimes we've had customers who would stumble on someone's blog post, Prabath to name one, and they think, oh, you know what, these guys look like they know what they're talking about. And we're not just selling, in our case, WSO and server, but we're telling you how IT and access management can help you solve the problem. So we address that aspect first, and then we push you through the funnel so you learn what WSO2 INT server can do. So it's combining those aspects of inbound marketing like SEO, content, social posts, building the brands of our own engineering teams. It's a combination of that pushes, users to later on realize, what, I'm going to fill a contact us form, and that's where Geethika's team, plays a role in following up.
Excellent. Yeah, I like that very much. You're right in that you do have to feed them the right content at the right place where they're searching, whether it's Googling up information or listening to another influencer. Right? Mm-hmm. One area that I really like when you and I talked was how you're able to discover their pain points and then guide them through in the funnel so that it brings them to have a lot more deeper discussion with your team by the time they do engage. What I call the discovery stage, right? And a lot of times the discovery stage is actually done by the sales development team or the sales team themselves when they are talking with customers. But in this case, you're able to do that discovery before sales, this in the marketing stage. Explain to us a little bit more how you're able to do that with the interactive content you have.
So to do that, Jessica, what we do is we have to ensure, while we understand, we take the history of our existing customers, but we also talk to, again, we go to the sales team and ask, okay, tell us about the conversations you've had today. What did you hear mostly? Then we would talk to our support teams who actually talk to customers a little bit more, or do more engagements with them. We would also look at forums where we know our users are active in. We constantly look at the questions that developers ask for. We look at questions that architects ask for. Sometimes it helps for you to go look at general thought leadership content maybe someone else has published, so you know that those are the pain points that in general the audience is looking at. We also do research on all types of content sites that we know that's targeted for that audience. So we look at all those avenues, external as well as internal, and then we put that together and then we map it with what we know the product is offering. So what helps us is to really study our existing customer inside out. We would go back as 5 years if we have to. We would take the sources of a contact us form, see what were the certain stages that lead has been mapped on their journey, and that's how we come up with the pain points and try address them.
I love it. I think that's fabulous what you're doing. And it reflects the success you're having, like the great marketing engine that you've put together, feeding that to the sales team. Sales is able to then close the deal. Engineering is getting the feedback to continue to innovate per customer request. And where the growth opportunities are. So, well, this is great. And one area I'm curious about is that often sales is just sales, direct sales or through channel sales. But what about enabling your technology to be white labeled by a big technology company that maybe wants to leverage as an OEM relationship?
Excellent question, Jessica. And that is a trend that we are seeing. More and more organizations who want so software companies and product companies, everyone obviously requires the CIAM side of things, right, to manage their customers' identities. So instead of building their own solution, there are so many organizations who want to find a solution that's out of the box that they can embed into their solution. And in that sense, WSO2 ends up being a perfect solution because we are open source. There's a lot of transparency which comes from being using an open source product. Like with WSO2, all our pricing is up out there in public. And with the source code also available out there in public, we become a perfect product to kind of OEM. And we have seen a huge uptake on organizations that want to use our product as a sort of an OEM relationship. One such customer that comes to mind is GE Healthcare, and they are obviously in the thick of what's going on right now in the world. They've been
GE Healthcare, is what you said?
Yeah, GE Healthcare. Yeah, and they've been an OEM partner of ours since 2018, and they use our software as part of their authorization, authentication, and a bunch of other features for the device management solutions. So if you're using any of the devices or associated software and logging into it, and you're most likely going through WSO2 Identity Server. So we see a lot of advances and requirements on that field, which is great. And we also have an awesome global partnership program, which is not really OEM, but channels in terms of extending our capabilities around the world. And our awesome partners also kind of help take this word out into the market. And we're really proud of the work that those guys are doing as well.
This is a great story. I want to say thank you so much for being on the show and talking with us about identity and access management for the open source community.
Thank you so much for having us, Jessica.
There you have it. The team from WSO2 joining Tech It Up with Jessica Lee. Thanks for joining us.